Well, I'm Don Jones, along with my brother Philip. We're co-founders of Alchemy Media Publishing Company. So we're storytellers, and we've published several books on our own titles and helped numerous people tell their stories.
Mm-hmm.
And so Time Machine is kind of an extension of our storytelling work.
Phillip Mallory Jones. I've been working in various media forms for over 50 years now. I used to do fiction writing, film production, video production, sound production, and other things. Time Machine Bronzeville really comes out of our appreciation for the history of African Americans in Chicago. We are native Chicagoans. We grew up in the milieu of Southside Chicago at the tail end of the Great Migration.
Mm-hmm.
So we were, from very early on, aware of the stories of the struggles and successes and tribulations of the many millions of African Americans that migrated north from the rural South, and Chicago was one of their primary destinations. So we had this appreciation for what these people went through and what they accomplished. And we could see it all around us, even in the decline of the latter part of the 20th century. We could see the institutions and organizations and enterprises and institutions that Black people created during that time in this environment of Jim Crow segregation, the Great Depression. And so we had this appreciation of what our forebears accomplished and went through. We were also keenly aware that city, that community was rapidly vanishing, is rapidly vanishing. And so to preserve and convey this rich history was really fundamental in our move towards incorporating game engine technologies and media communications technologies in this intention of storytelling. Strive to innovate ways of telling our stories in our own way using these technologies. The technologies are incredibly capable and broad in the way they can be used, and that means it's up to the creators to figure out how to use them in particular ways. So Time Machine Bronzeville is intentionally breaking molds for how African Americans tell their own stories. And it's also, these technologies give us the opportunity to present different points of view and different intentions, and incorporating into that the aesthetic and the sensibilities of the Chicago Renaissance, which was one of the pivotal times in American and world history, and the output of the genius and the innovation of the artists working in all disciplines during that time in Chicago has permanently changed art, culture around the world. So these were really the fundamental building blocks and motivations that drove us and continue to drive us in this kind of endeavor.
I actually had a chance to look at a little bit of video for Time Machine Bronzeville on the Steam. I'm sure that, being able to have it on Steam is, as far as that technology, being able to kind of portray these stories in a different way. How has that sort of, I guess, enhanced or changed the way that you do tell stories? How do you go about like incorporating the technologies and the way that you tell these stories?
Well, that really comes out of knowing the tools, knowing the capabilities and the processes involved, and then shaping that to our intention. Just as a sculptor with a hammer and chisel looking at a block of marble knows the tools, knows the medium, and then shapes that piece to that artist's own intentions. And this affords us an opportunity to figure out ways to do that, and to figure out ways to do that that come out of the tradition of storytelling. Black people, as well as all other people in the world, have used what they had at hand to tell their stories. So we have at hand very powerful game engine technologies, and also a population, particularly younger people, who are familiar with these tools, for whom this is not a stretch to navigate a screen and use consoles or joysticks or whatever to move around in an environment. We can use these tools to create an immersive experience, an engaging experience. And so that's a very exciting and allows us a great deal of latitude in terms of how we approach it and what we try to accomplish.
Yeah, because so many young people have no idea about what's gone on before and the importance of what's gone on before. And so if we can meet them where they are with this game technology and incorporate all the actual archival material that's at our disposal, so that, as Philip said, we're telling our own story through the actual material. And that's so important. And you may have noticed it as you look at the game. It's just really how beautiful it is. And so much of that, lends to, Philip's artistic talent. And, I can talk like he's not here. But I mean, if you open up Time Machine Bronzeville, I mean, you're struck with just how beautiful the environment is. And intention was to put you there, on the south side of Chicago, 47th and South Park, in front of the Regal Theater, with the hustle and bustle and cars and lights and people and activity, um, you know, in this place that's largely gone or has changed substantially. And then the other part of Time Machine Bronzeville really resides on the walls of the gallery space. And those frame scenes and pictures that we've designed as portals into the actual storytelling. And so one, is in front of a frame scene on the wall and is able to be transported into this scene and hear the discussions, and it's really beautiful.
How did you go about the immersion? How did you go about capturing all of the things that you knew about, being in Chicago and all of the things that you guys were able to do? How were you able to capture all of that and actually put it into this space?
A lot of it comes from memory. Having grown up at just after the war, a lot of the people, the places, the things that were around us were pre-war. So that's embedded in memory, what these things look like. Also, a lot of research, a lot of scouring archival sources for what did it look like then? What was there? What was on the walls? What did people have in their homes? How did they dress? What was their hair? What did men's hats look like? Shoes? All of those things are the research that goes into it to make it authentic. And the way we test its authenticity is by exposing the work in progress all through the 14 years of developing Time Machine Bronzeville,
Mhm.
exposing it people who know that, for whom they have those memories. 100% of that kind of audience responded with gratitude, amazement, appreciation that
Mhm.
they're seeing their own story.
Yeah.
They're hearing their own stories. Consistently, people responded with, "Oh, yeah, my Uncle Joe talked about that," or, "Oh, yeah, that happened to my grandfather in
Mhm.
Alabama in 1915," and so on. And so that is the confirmation that, yes, in fact, we are achieving this intention of recreating, reimagining this milieu, and that it is true. This presentation is true,
Mhm.
and it expresses the strength and the beauty of what African Americans experienced in that place and time. And
Mhm.
with that confirmation and that authenticity, we have confidence that people who did not come up with these living memories.
For example, at the corner of 63rd and Cottage, now and for the past 20 years or more, a generation has grown up knowing that is a vacant lot. 63rd and Cottage was the Pershing Hotel.
Mm.
The Pershing Hotel was the venue for everything. I mean, it had 2 or 3 different music venues in there. I mean, Count Basie, Duke Ellington. I mean, everybody played there.
Mhm.
Um, all kind of hustlers and stuff went on in there.
Mhm.
But the Pershing Hotel was a significant landmark,
Mhm.
icon of the South Side. But there's a whole generation or more who have no idea. And the success and the trials and tribulations and success that happened there. And
Mhm.
so, if we can help to if we can help to inform in a way that's immersive, that's exciting, that adds a sense of exploration and discovery,
Mhm.
then we've done our job.
It's like I wonder sort of kind of like how that could kind of open up as far as
Exactly.
broadening these people's
Exactly.
thoughts and minds as far as about where they grew up and where they live.
One of the wrinkles or levels of Time Machine Bronzeville is that it's not all sweetness and light.
Mm.
There are scoundrels, there are villains, as well as the survivors and the thrivers. We try to paint a broad picture of who was there and what was going on. Give some indications, as best we can with this limited piece, of the ways in which Black people on the South Side of Chicago at that time figured out how to solve their own problems, what kinds of institutions they created in and of themselves with next to no help from outside. Banks wouldn't lend money, insurance companies wouldn't write policies. That is the white establishment. So
Mhm.
Black people on the South Side had to make their own insurance companies, their own banks, their own institutions. And a lot of that came out of church organizations, social clubs, civic organizations, that where Black people came together, cooperated, acted in unison with a purpose to solve their own problems in their own communities with what they had at hand. And
Mhm.
that lesson needs to be conveyed. And
Mhm.
that attitude needs to be conveyed in the face of the kinds of challenges that are seen today.
Mm.
People and organizations are doing great work to recover
Mhm.
from the devastation of the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, right? And so Time Machine Bronzeville is a part of that. We
Mhm.
wanted to be a part of that, and in support of the broad work that's going on in that community at this time.
The organizations and how they, how we created our own for our own, that comes out of the tradition of this
Mhm.
in the South, of the mutual aid societies and
Mhm.
and the things that we had to make for ourselves in the South that we, you know, use as a template as we came north.
Mhm.
We couldn't go to the white country club, so we made our own social clubs. We couldn't, we couldn't get our own insurance policies, so we made our own insurance companies.
Mhm.
We couldn't get our own bank loans, so we formed our own banks.
To me, the supreme joy of doing this kind of work, the hours, days, years that went into the fabrication of these environments and these characters and whatnot, the levels of detail in these 3D modeling environments.
I think that's something people will really notice is the level of detail, like just the being at the newsstand. You can see it and be like, okay, yeah, like I can feel what
Yeah,
that would have felt like.
we were very fortunate to compile a very talented group of developers,
Mhm.
sound engineers, voice talent. We got a real strong team. We're looking forward to other time machine iterations. I mean,
Mhm.
just like South Side of Chicago and Bronzeville was important. I mean, so was Detroit, and so
Mhm.
was Cleveland, and so was Black Wall Street in Tulsa, and Beale Street Blues in Memphis.
I
So
live in Nashville now.
Jefferson Street. We always say, just like every person has a story, so does every place. And it's important that we're able to use these technologies and meet young people where they are with this kind of informative but fun and exploratory kind of journey
Mhm.
that lends credence.
There's a great deal of humor in Time Machine Bronzeville, and it's that
Black
humor
folks are funny.
by being themselves, and that also is what we're trying to express. That laughing through the tears and making a way out of no way is just the ground that
Yeah,
we walk on.
yeah,
Mhm.
And so in much of the spoken dialogue that's in Time Machine Bronzeville, there is that humor just
right,
in the way people express themselves and
right.
the slang that they use and the hidden and double meanings of
Yeah.
words and whatnot,
Mhm.
It,
And so if someone who isn't familiar with this doesn't quite get it, at least they'll know that this is how these people talked.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful to our parents. Our father, for example, was a grade school classmate of Nat Cole,
Okay.
and he used to tell a story. We come from storytellers
Yeah.
of when they were little kids. They called Nat Cole shoe booty because they were so poor. He wore a boot and a shoe,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
and so we took that and made one of our characters shoe booty. He's a shoe shine man on the corner. He knows
Yeah.
everything, but we were able to take those stories that we heard and
Mhm.
incorporate it into Time Machine Bronzeville.
That's
Another
pretty cool.
character in the piece is Madame Bertha. And
Yeah,
she's a reader and advisor. Another family lore piece. Our father, this was in the 60s.
60s.
Our father comes home and he notices a sign in the first floor apartment window at the corner of 70th and South Wabash. Madame Bertha, reader and advisor. That was it.
He says,
We were moving. That was the last straw.
That's cool that y'all could incorporate that.
we were very fortunate over the period of a couple of years. We were able to audio and videotape our mother. who's a writer, historian, author, poet. And we were able to record her memories and also incorporate much of her poetry in Time Machine Bronzeville. All that kind of comes together. It's really exciting.
You kind of touched on it a little bit. What is the next step for Time Machine Bronzeville? Me personally, I would love to see this in VR. Like this would be very much a VR. I can just see it being how immersed you could be in that.
So would we.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be cool.
That would be a nice touch to it as you sort of kind of look at Time Machine Brownsville as it is now to like you said, I'm sure you have other stories that you would like to tell. What's the next steps as far as like how you guys approach going about the next project or enhancing Brownsville? How do you go about it?
Well, as Don mentioned, there are a number of other locations that we are in the process of looking into, contacting people, potential projects. We're also in the process of deepening the project or future projects and incorporating a whole other level of exploration, questing, mystery solving, exploration into this basic format that we have developed. So future iterations of Time Machine, be it Bronzeville, Memphis, Old West Baltimore, will have this another level to them as well that engages the visitor in this space in new ways, having to explore the environment and the scenes and query characters in a more game-oriented fashion. There's something to accomplish. All that information, the documentation and the archival material and the stories about people's lives is still there. And then there's this other level that's woven all the way through it, forces the visitor to engage with characters in an exchange. So doing that in VR is highly desirable.
Yeah. What does that look like as far as like turn it into more of like a game objective? Is it like more like you thinking more like quest?
And maybe I'm putting the cart before the horse a little bit here. Our thinking is, in terms of specifically Time Machine Bronzeville, that we would incorporate a reunion quest, same period of time, the Great Migration south to the north. And in many instances, particularly around the Chicago Defender newspaper, people were actively trying to find their relatives and find others, who had been separated, after slavery, through Reconstruction, everything. And so there's an opportunity for us to incorporate the game quest, this puzzle, in Time Machine, where one is active along with all the other aspects of it. You're able to traverse all the environments and everything with an objective of tracking down this lost relative. And so that's pretty exciting.
If you want to do another project place like Memphis, or what does the next step look like? You can't really predict where technology is going to be. You don't kind of really know where things are, but you'll always have your point of view as far as the storytelling aspect. So how do you think you'll sort of navigate those, hiccups, trials, and tribulations as sort of like because you also say you want to meet these kids and stuff where they are. And so they'll always be at sort of the next pinnacle of technology, as it were. So like, how do you navigate the whole AI and then navigate the just different ways that people are sort of looking at these sort of mediums, like, and also still keeping your own ideas as far as your own technologies, your own ideas, and keeping them fresh and being able to convey that message the way that you want to other people?
Well, that's the challenge. And that's the delicious problem working with media tools. They change all the time. With half a century of working with media tools, that's just normal to me. But the challenge is to clarify one's vision and intention and figure out how to achieve that with the tools available. Now, what this also means is that the younger creatives and makers coming into this arena at this time have this amazing opportunity to look at these tools in new ways, to understand that they can break out of the restrictions that are imposed by the dominant commercial interests in the gaming world and fashion their own stories, their own interpretations, their own visions using these incredibly flexible tools. And so that means that there's a lot of possibility. There's a lot of possibility for younger people to make the world, find new modes of expressing their own selves. Now that still comes back to clarity of vision and intention.
I mean, over the years, we've heard from our contemporaries, boy, that game technology is great. I wonder when somebody's going to do something, other than zombies or, blowing up stuff. And I think that the challenge that we took on was to make something engaging, immersive, exciting, that, would hold attention, but didn't necessarily rely on, although you can collect points and achievements and in Time Machine Bronzeville, but didn't rely on, kind of the easy, we're just being true to ourselves. And it's on Steam. So, if you Google Time Machine Bronzeville, it'll take you to Steam. It's easy to find.
Your contemporaries, like how has it been received? And how have you sort of taken that constructive, whether it be positive, negative? How have you guys taken that?
It's been good. We're getting a lot of recognition. The point of it is to keep going, not to be afraid of what's out there. We're pushing hard every day. There are some obvious applications within the educational community. That's how we did all our testing, was on Steam Deck to make sure. We're having a lot of fun.
The level of detail is quite impressive. The train going by and being in the plane, overlooking everything.
One thing about the plane is flying over the diorama of Bronzeville is this biplane. And behind the plane is a long banner that says Carnival Today, an appreciation of the fact of the colored carnival troops that traveled throughout the South, northern cities, actually into Europe and South America as well, during, the 80-year span. And the importance of those carnival troops as incubators of Black music and musical idioms, jazz, blues, minstrel shows that turned into vaudeville. Time Machine Bronzeville gets into that, and there's some stories about it. There was a lot of research and care in the way that we incorporate all the various elements in Time Machine Bronzeville.
Where we can find y'all and like some of the other projects you might have going and working on.
This is every day. We just work on this every day, doing research, developing the visuals, and at the moment, particularly developing the quest level and the intricate matrix that will make this new level to the experience.
And we can be reached. We're happy to engage with anybody who's interested in what we're doing. You can contact us via email at info@alchemymediapublishing.com. We're always interested in talking to people who are interested in what we're doing.